And here we are, live from all over the place, really. I'm in lovely Murrieta, California. I have no idea if anyone actually really knows where that is. Airlim, you're in the UK, but where are you actually?
I'm based in the lovely realms of Chester.
I don't
Lovely realms of Chester.
How
Everyone goes.
how far from London is that?
If I'm. I'm going to have to Google that. I think it's about at least a good couple hundred miles. But it's about 4 hour drive. It's 189 miles.
East.
So that kind of southeast.
Completely whatever. How are you guys doing?
Good.
I'm not too bad.
Excited. Yeah, we're both excited to talk Star Trek.
I like right after watching this episode, I logged into the Star Trek Discord because they actually have like an official channel and just started talking to everyone about it because this. I don't know about you guys, but for me, Discovery, like I'm really enjoying my rewatch of Enterprise, but Discovery is probably my third favorite series now, behind Deep Space Nine.
Nice. Yeah, I mean it's up there for me. I'm really liking Discovery overall. We just got the news today that season 4 is a go. They've been doing pre-production work and they're ready to start filming next month for season 4.
That seems really soon.
We've got more Discovery. Well, I think just because of how long it took for them to do like post-production because of the pandemic. I think they already had plans for season 4. So they're just like, why even hold the news anymore? Like even a couple weeks ago, I saw pictures. There were like signs leaking from Toronto about like on-set location for season 4. So it's happening.
I'm excited.
They just made it official.
And I'm hearing like there's rumors. Of course, because why wouldn't there be? That season 5 is actually officially greenlit too, but that they're waiting to announce that until after season 4. Which I don't know, because like Amazon renewed like The Expanse for season 4 and 5 at the same time and announced that like right off the bat. So I don't know why they would hold off on announcing that if it's already good to go.
Sorry. I just think that with Discovery, like and we've heard news about Alex Kurtzman, he's sticking with Star Trek and just the franchise, the Star Trek universe. I think they have plans through like 2027. So Star Trek's like not going anywhere, and I'm wondering if Discovery may be a return to 7 seasons of Star Trek like we had in years past.
I'd be totally down for that. I'd be down for more if they could come up with good stories to keep it going even longer. I guess it just kind of depends on what they have planned for the shows. As long as it's good. I don't think it really matters how long it goes on for.
So I didn't even realize they finished season 3. It's like when you messaged me, I was like, season 3 is already out now. What? when did this happen? Because I just finished season 2 and I was just like, oh, cool. It'll be like next year. That's sometime when season 3 drops. No, it's literally tomorrow. I was like, oh,
yeah. I think you're like a year behind, so
yeah.
So,
it was so crazy because
Well, that's the power of binging. Even if you're behind, you catch up, and hey, suddenly there's a new season. So why not?
Yeah. Just like Heroes, just wait till season 2, and then season 5's out. I'm like, all right.
That's actually like the binging thing. Like that's actually been a topic recently too, because the boys decided instead of dropping the entire season all in one go, that they were going to go week to week. The Mandalorian, another big show, is week to week. Do you guys have a preference? Does it matter to you whether it's a week to week show or whether they drop all the episodes at the same time?
It depends on the series, because at least for Discovery, it's always been week to week. So I'm used to waiting a week, for new episodes. But in the case of the boys, I was kind of pissed off because I watched that first season. I binged that so hard because it was all available to me. And then for season 2, they switched it to this weekly format, and I think they dropped the first 3 or 4 episodes, and I watched those right away. But to shift between weekly and dropping the shows when you've already set a precedence for one versus the other, either stick with what you did before or just make up your mind. But so in the case of the boys, I was just a little upset because I was like, this show's so good, I want to watch it all right now.
For me, being kind of on both sides as a viewer and someone that does this kind of stuff, and talks about them in general, I'm very, very mixed about it, because as a viewer, being able to binge watch the show and just sit there and watch 16 hours of TV all in one shot, sure, that's great. Why? Who wouldn't want to do that?
Yeah.
But at the same time, having it week to week, that does allow a lot more time to kind of digest what you watched, have more discussions with people about the show, and kind of just be more involved in individual episodes instead of the series as a whole. And then on this side of things, I tried writing reviews for a show a couple of years ago that did that, and Altered Carbon, they dropped all the episodes at the same time. I can't write 10 reviews for 10 separate episodes over the course of a weekend. That is so much work. So on our end, I think it just makes it easier. But I do understand that shifting from dropping all the episodes at once to weekly, that's kind of weird. Hopefully they won't do that switch again. They'll just keep it with the same format going forward.
Yeah, for Star Trek though, I actually like it weekly because all the Star Trek shows have been weekly television, and I like that. I like, on a Thursday night, sitting down with my wife and watching a new Star Trek episode. That's our Thursday night ritual at this point with, Lower Decks and now Discovery. But, it's great for people who are on the fence about CBS All Access, if people are still on the fence about that. But, what's great for, new viewers, they can wait till the end of a season, get that free trial subscription, and binge all they want.
The only downside is for people who want to be able to sign up for the service when the show that they want drops and then cancel it right afterwards, because now they're going to have to deal with everyone talking about the show because it's dropping weekly, and then making the decision, okay, I'm going to pay for 2 months instead of just the 1 month that I need to just binge the 7 episodes of the show. So it's better. Yeah. It's better business, I think, in the long run too. I just got to hop over to the chat here really quick before we actually dig into the episode. Edward Sanchez Productions is in there, and Metal Ryan Gaming. How's it going, both of you guys? I hope you guys are caught up, because we are going to spoil the shit out of this episode and seasons 1 and seasons 2. really quick before we jump into the season premiere at the end of season 2, we made this massive jump 930 years into the future. Eric, you and I kind of talked about this a little bit last week on the Enterprise show.
Yeah.
And the timing of everything within the Star Trek universe is really interesting because we're now beyond the temporal war, which we saw in Enterprise. So now we've kind of jumped back in time for the first 2 seasons. To a period of time that we had basically seen previously with the original series, and now we've jumped forward in time to a part of the timeline that we've never seen before. Because even with the Temporal Cold War, we did see that future at least briefly with Daniels on his ship. So what do you guys think of the current state of the galaxy that we're in when we actually really get into this episode?
See, I haven't watched all of Enterprise, so when they were talking about all this sort of stuff happening, I was just like, huh? What are they referring to? But it made me want to learn more about it, but also annoyed me halfway through. Like every single time you had Michael go like, "Oh, what's going on?" You had the other guy, Buck. He just went, I don't want to know." I'm like, "Oh, I want to know." Like literally, throw that information out there and say, "Hey, what is going on? Like, give me a little bit of a taster." So I turn around and go, "Oh, so that's what's happening. That makes me want to go back and watch whatever or start to research." But it was just literally every single time. Yeah, what's your name? Don't tell me. Where are you from? Don't tell me. What were you doing walking this way? Don't tell me. I'm just like, oh, God damn it, Buck. Just close yourself, because that's what you are, a closed book.
But no, like, I liked it because, of course, he's not going to fully 100% trust her. And he does, like, tease out some more information. But I think as the season opens up and as he opens up to the crew of the Discovery, and as they just kind of go about their business and try to figure out things, I think we're going to see bigger pieces of a puzzle. But I liked that they kept the timeline straight because, Book says, oh, the burn was like 100 and something years ago. And, they also outlawed time travel. And everything matches up with like Enterprise and what we knew about, the Temporal Cold War, which I guess became not just cold, but like a full-on war, because he just called them the Temporal Wars. So it's interesting to see that nugget of information. So we're kind of piecing together the timeline, and that's what I love about what's going on right now, because the crew can visit Earth. They can visit, all these other planets, because apparently Discovery's gonna have like the only means of really fast, reliable transportation with the spore drive.
That's something that I didn't even really think of with the spore drive, because since they need the dilithium to warp, and that's now a rare commodity, and I'm not exactly sure I understand how how it even still exists, if it all exploded or whatever it was that happened to it.
Well, from what I figure, or from what they've been saying, that most of it kind of blew up, but there's still like pieces, like small fragments here and there, and that's why those smugglers are dealing it out in small quantities, because what's left is hard to find, and it's such a commodity that they're keeping it kind of under lock and key. And so I can imagine, there's pockets of the universe now that are kind of isolated, and you can't get from point A to point B reliably without it taking a super long time.
And I'm assuming that's also why the Federation collapsed, is because
right,
without the ability to get from one place to another fairly quickly, that just left them open to attack. So I mean, who knows who destroyed all of that all these things that we saw floating in above Hema.
I think the things that were destroyed, it was because of what he referenced as the burn. When the initial burn happened, a lot of anything that was using dilithium in their matter reactors exploded. So that's why maybe you've seen all these starship pieces floating around, because whatever event triggered this exploded a galaxy-wide fleet of ships all at once.
Definitely. But something that kind of stood out to me in this episode that they were talking about was the Gorn destroying 2 light years of subspace.
Mm-hmm.
How? Like that's something that like I don't know if I missed something or if we're supposed to understand that that was from dilithium.
No, I think that might be a separate event, because that's all the information that we got from Book, that the Gorn destroyed a section of subspace, and maybe it happened in other places, because as we find out in the episode, subspace communication is even limited, and long-range scanning is limited to about 600 light years. So whatever the Gorn did in a separate event to damage subspace, it kind of screwed everything up for everyone else.
So from what I understand, there were the long range sensors in the Star Trek universe work off of a series of I guess these amplifiers that they were dropping in the last episode of Enterprise that we watched. Are kind of all over the place. So the sensors piggyback off that. So if they're not able to communicate with those, then that kind of destroys their ability to see exactly what's out there.
Yeah, not only that, but yeah, they're long-range sensors like the subspace communications. We always hear about subspace communications, and that's in Enterprise. We started to see those relays, and in the future of the Federation, there's probably a whole network of those. So yeah, you screw that up, I mean, you're pretty much screwed for anything. Because I know short-range sensors; those are the sensors that are actually on the ship, right. And long-range sensors are as well, but they rely on that subspace network.
See, the only thing I could think of for if subspace was destroyed and stuff was one would be the Omega particle, which they talk about in Voyager.
Yeah.
Or there's there's an episode in Next Generation where they find that corridor where it's like you've got a race that anything that goes through warp wise damages it. So they make a device to blow something up, and it's I don't know the episode, but you've got like
I remember the one that you're talking about where those scientists were petitioning Starfleet to limit warp travel in that solar system because there was like a tear or something that was forming.
Mm.
Yeah, because higher warps were damaging subspace. It all comes kind of back to subspace, and it was becoming dangerous to. It was pretty much their environmental message, like, "Hey, don't speed or don't pollute." But yeah, so that's why there's always like a standard cruise speed for the Federation, and like high warp is kind of limited, but other propulsion, I love that they mentioned the Slipstream and the Benamite crystals from Voyager, because Voyager was all about like, hey, we need to find new ways to get home faster. Right. And one of the technologies they found out was quantum slipstream drive, which they never got to work, but in the future could be a valuable piece of technology. But for someone who's like this ragtag smuggler like Book, it seems like that type of technology would be very expensive for him to even get his hands on.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the exciting parts of the series, is learning all about this new future technology. Because obviously we now know that some of it, like what Burnham had was considered antiques. So, like, what's a tricorder in the future? The weapons. Oh man, how did you guys feel about them just like dusting everyone that they were shooting? Like, there was no stun. There was no. We're just gonna put you down. There was like these people were just being evaporated.
The future's rough, man. Like they don't even have time for stun settings anymore. I was kind of taken aback by that, just because it was like, poof, the guy's gone. Like, not a second thought, like, fuck those guys. It's like, whatever. So that kind of surprised me a bit. One of the blasts when they were fighting in the like mercantile area, like, put a hole through whatever glass was there. Yeah. I saw it. I was like, man, these weapons don't mess around.
They got bored of like stun, so they thought, yeah, throw it,
just kill them all.
I mean, the effects with that though. I mean, this episode looked really. I mean, Discovery's always looked really
gorgeous.
Good. The effects have always been great. The cinematography has always been great. In the background behind us right now, I don't know if you guys are watching the stream live, but I got just a still of
for some reason
Requiem with the mercantile in the back there, and all of this just looks so good. It's
when I saw that scene, I generally thought, there's a shipyard. They've just literally just taken a shipyard, brought it down, dry dock, and just stuck it in and thought, we'll use it that way.
Yeah, it's a really unique design, especially with that floating area. It kind of reminded me of Mass Effect and the Citadel, kind of like that central hub type area.
Yeah, it's interesting. So the planet that they're on, Hema, this is the first time that we've heard of this place within the world of Star Trek, right? Like I looked it up, and I didn't see any references anywhere else to this planet.
This is a new planet. This is a new planet.
I couldn't find any references to where in the universe it actually is. So like in reference to Earth or Vulcan or any of the other planets that we know, like we're not sure where this is, are we? Like I didn't hear any like real specifics.
No, and I think the reason behind that is we're following along with Burnham. We're finding out things as we're finding out through Burnham. So she's never heard of Hema. No one's telling her where in the quadrant or sector they are. So we don't know as an audience, and that kind of adds to the mystery. The only clue that I heard was when Book said the closest natural wormhole is 100 light years from here. Well, natural wormholes in Star Trek aren't that commonplace all the time. And the major one we know of is the Bajoran Wormhole.
Yeah.
True, yeah.
Yeah, that's...
But then yours...
There's the Barzan Wormhole, which has the endpoint that kind of moves all over the place in the galaxy. But, as far as in the world of Star Trek, not too many natural occurring wormholes. So I was wondering if that was kind of like another clue. Like, hey, maybe we're in the Alpha Quadrant, but near the Bajoran sector.
Yeah, because 100... I'm trying to think. 100 light years wouldn't take them that long to get to, just at a normal warp speed.
Right.
So that would make a lot of sense. So as far as the storyline in this episode goes, what did you guys think? Did you like how we were kind of following along with Burnham as she was learning about everything here? What didn't you like? What stood out to you? Was it just kind of mad? Was it a good season premiere?
I think it was okay. The one thing, because I made notes when I was watching this, I was like, right, gonna go through it scene by scene. But see, because I don't know, because I kind of like started watching, like I got halfway through season 2, and then I kind of watched the last couple of episodes. But I don't know how much they were talking about the Red Angel, the suit. because it felt like that could have been the biggest tech that they had, and then all of a sudden she sends it away and destroys it.
The one point of that is she had to send it back because that last signal was what let Spock know in the past that they made it okay. So she had to do that to complete that temporal loop.
So I thought she could have just sent the signal and gone, I'm going to keep this suit because it's the most advanced thing in the universe right now. But then was like, send the coordinates and then self-destruct. I was like, could you not just fly up, send the signal, and then do it? And I think one thing that I think kind of bugged me is like in the season 2 finale is she gets hit really hard with some like a shot or a photon torpedo, and she's more like, shrug that off. But the second she comes out of a wormhole, she hits a ship and literally hits a planet. I'm just like, it kind of got to me a tiny bit, but I was like, it's all part of the story. Ooh.
I was able to write that off because I was like, okay, well, she had been hit by, she was damaged a bit in her attempt to get into the future in the first place. So hitting the ship was just additional damage that she was taking. So if all this like stacked together, and we don't know how fast the ship was going, it was blunt force damage, not energy, and not an energy weapon. So it propelled her in a completely different direction than when she was going. Unlike a phaser blast with the shields, who knows how that would actually really affect that? Because like we've seen plenty of times where someone will get hit with a phaser and they just stand there and take it, but then like Worf will go up and punch them in the face and they get knocked back.
I'm sure in the season 2 finale, like when she gets hit, she flies and hits like one of the debris and then rolls normally, and I'm just like, okay. I think that was it. But the suit could have been used where it could have been send a signal. I'm gonna keep this for
but she couldn't because that's what the technology in the suit is what sends the final message. So she couldn't.
Well, and not only that, but the suit also didn't the suit also have the sphere data in it?
No, they transferred all that to Discovery.
Right.
That's why Discovery had to go into the future.
They stopped it from transferring to the suit before they transferred it back, because they had been transferring it to Discovery, and then, they had been transferring it from Discovery to the suit, but then all of that shit went down with control. And they stopped. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really have a problem with that. The book, like you were saying at the very beginning, he was a little annoying because we knew that they were going to start traveling together, and that they were going to work together eventually. So I get that they were building his character, but he did feel a little uneven to me.
Yeah, I think we'll see that even out. If you guys get a chance, definitely watch like the Ready Room with Will Wheaton, because he interviews the actor, and there was some like great insight into his character in that interview that things made sense, and they kind of teased what will be going on with his character throughout the season, and. He's just this like mysterious guy, but overall, I thought the episode was pretty good just from that point of view of exploring a part of this new world, this new future, with Burnham. I love seeing all the updated makeups for the races that we know and love, like the Lurian, who was like that Morn character.
Dude, when we saw him, I was so excited. I was like, oh my god, it's Morn. Like I mean, we really have no idea how long those guys live. So I guess in theory, it could be Morn. I doubt it.
Yeah,
I doubt it.
I think it's just another memory. Yeah.
Really quick before we continue, I just want to hop over to the chat really quick again. Donnie Pearson is here. Hello. I know you're as big of a Star Trek fan as we are, so I really want to know what you thought of the episode 2, and we will check out your DeviantArt link. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and pull that up now and take a look at it. So the Mercantile. So this is I'm a little confused about this actual area that they were in. The Mercantile felt like it was like an Orion Syndicate type property where everyone in there was probably just like crooks and criminals. But Requiem, we didn't really get any information about that. So do we think Requiem is just like a regular city and the Mercantile is like a real like shopping center for regular people too, or is it more like a black market that only the criminals?
No, it seemed like it was only the black market. It was the hub for those smugglers, because Burnham couldn't even get in because she didn't have one of their tags.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I think that was the Andorian and Orion. I think that was their section of the Mercantile, or just the Mercantile. I think Requiem is just a city that is probably full of also bad types. But I loved Michael's reaction that, oh wait, the Andorians and Orions are working together? What's going on? And that just shows, like, you know, after the collapse of the Federation, you know, you're going to have groups that probably never worked together in the past come together and work together. So it'll be interesting to see, like, the rest of the state of galactic affairs in the rest of the season.
After hearing about the Gorn, I really want to see the Gorn now. Because we saw... Yeah, season 1, we saw the Gorn skeleton in Lorca's like lab office area,
and they teased it in Picard. There was mentions. We saw the Gorn wedding in Lower Decks, so we saw animated version of it.
But I'm excited to see what the actual design for them looks like now, because like all the other makeup, all the other aliens look so good in this show. So like I'd really love to see what they've done with the Gorn. Speaking of Eric, you had mentioned that we know what the race of the thief that Book stole the transworm from, which that's a whole other thing that we need to talk about.
Yeah, so a lot of people were saying it was like a Uridian, who we've seen in like Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. They've got like that folded in face, and they're all wrinkly, and they got super big ears. And in Deep Space Nine and Next Generation, they were always kind of just like these like slimy brokers of information that we've seen. Well, when I watched the Riker maneuver, they were talking about the props. Not the Riker maneuver. When I was the Ready Room, Riker maneuver is a good name. But when I was watching the episode of the Ready Room, they had a section about the props, and they showed the pistol that guy was using, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is from a Betelgeusian," and I was like, "Oh." So I guess it's not a Uridian. And so it's a new species, but whatever Cosmo is, and Betelgeuse is a real star. It's a real star. And so I thought that was cool that we get a new race. But yeah, at first, me and a lot of other Star Trek fans were like, wait, is this just like an updated makeup for the Uridians?
Yeah, because to me, I know we were talking about this before. He looks like one of the orcs from Lord of the Rings.
Right. a little bit. He's kind of got that demon-y look to him.
Yeah, and then oh god, what else did we see? The Orions. We saw those in season 1 of Discovery as well. At the end. What other aliens did we see in this episode that you were able to pull out?
Andorians, one of the guys chasing them. There's also like a Cardassian who we saw from the season 3 trailer. We talked about the Lurians. Other than that, not much. There was some new ones in the background. I think I also spotted a Tellarite as part of the group that was chasing Michael and Book. So, and we saw the updated Tellarite design in Picard as well. So that makeup was pretty consistent.
The Klingons are the ones that I'm interested about, because obviously we saw the Klingons in the first 2 seasons of Discovery. Did we see Klingons in Picard? I don't think we did.
Not that I remember.
No. And even in Discovery season 2, they were still a look, because you know they had the more traditional hair. Things were toned down subtly. But that's another thing. Who knows? Maybe Klingons were affected even worse by the burn than the Federation. And, you know, the Romulans too, or because we saw in Picard, you know, because of their sun exploding, they're kind of nomadic. But that kind of made me think, like when Michael said, oh, well, all species use, or most species use dilithium in their warp drive. Well, the Romulan warbirds always use like a mini black hole. They use a singularity as part of their drive. But then again, you know, most of their empire collapsed in Picard's time. So, you know, at this time, and in the trailer, we saw Vulcan. And what was interesting to me, one of the episode titles that was revealed for season 2 was called Unification 3.
And now I'm wondering, about halfway in, right?
Yeah. And I'm wondering, because in the season 3 trailer, we did see like a Vulcan doing the salute to Saru. And I'm wondering, what if after Picard's time, reunification happened that Spock was always dreaming about, that the Vulcans and Romulans come back together?
It's interesting too, because it's called Unification 3. Were there other episodes of Star Trek that were called Unification?
I think it was that 2-parter in TNG.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Unification 1 and Unification 2 where it was that 2-parter. So yeah.
How awesome would that be if Unification 3 is a title that references this next gen? And, you know, people say that, oh, Star Trek or Discovery isn't respecting continuity. How awesome would that be to have like an episode called Unification 3 that shows us what happens in that 900-year time period? And maybe in the future, because the Federation collapsed, there's no longer any animosity between them and the Romulans, and that gives a chance for the Romulans and Vulcans to come back together. If that episode title is true, that is amazing.
If they had it, they have to have it in that cave. That literally every part was just literally in there. I would just like have. Well, I think, isn't there like a photo of Michael actually in there in a cave type thing, and I was looking at it going,
well, I think that's the Trillholm world.
Yes.
Don't destroy my dreams. Why would you destroy my dreams?
I'm sorry.
It's your dream of them using the same cave set from like 30 years ago.
Well, my biggest dream would be if they bring the Gorn in again, and like they have it in a big room, and in the corner is this just giant boulder. And they go like, why do you got a boulder? And you go, we don't talk about the boulder. And that's it. And for the entire thing, people are like, why is a boulder? And that's it.
I had to laugh because, like, Arena, the original series, when the Gorn picks up that boulder, the next shot is that thing launching at Kurt. It's like, there's no way it gained that much velocity. I laugh every time I see that scene because one shot's just like, ugh, and then it's like, pew.
Oh, man. The references so far in Discovery just overall have been really good, which is why, like, that argument about Discovery not caring about continuity at all. I'm just like, it's new stuff. Like, obviously the Klingons, like, I don't want to go on a rant about the Klingon design or anything, but everyone was bitching about that in the first season, even though it had changed from series to series and from the series to the movies. It kept evolving.
Right.
And then they explained the change in Enterprise, and no one was willing to give Discovery the chance to explain why there was this difference like they did with Enterprise. But now, like, being able to see all of this and having this 900-year gap and being able to learn all this new stuff is super, super exciting. So now...
Right,
sorry, go ahead.
I'm just super excited because we saw that teaser for, like, what's coming up in the rest of the season. I'm excited that we're finally going to go back to Earth and see what, like, super future Earth is like and what happened with Earth, because Earth is, like, the heart of the Federation.
I only care about Illinois. I just want to know what future Illinois looks like.
I wonder if it's just like floating in the sky, just Illinois.
we heard about how future Illinois is so different from Daniels. I have to know. And if I will be so disappointed if we don't actually see what Illinois looks like. So we know from the title listing and from some of the future previews that we get next week is focusing on the actual Discovery and where they pop out and them trying to find Burnham. So do you guys think they're going to find Burnham at the end of the next episode or before the end of the next episode? Like, how long do you think they're going to stretch that out for?
I think possibly like the end of next episode they'll find each other, because I think they'll need to bring them together. Like, if it was me being a dick as a director and stuff like that, I'd be like, let episode 6 let them kind of like pick it out a bit. Like, you want to build the character up with Burnham and Buck, and then whatever happens to Discovery as well, because I would love it if, like, this ship comes out of nowhere and everyone's like, oh my god, what the hell. It's still super advanced anyway compared to what it was back in TOS, but I'd love it to see, like, just how that kind of reacts, and how, like, you've got two Federation ships out at the moment, so I'd love to see that sort of thing of, like, going, oh, there's a third one now, and what's the kind of next step. So 6 episodes.
I don't think it's going to be next episode. I think it might be episode 3 or 4 that happens, just because, let's build that relationship with Book. And we saw Michael with short hair in this episode. Well, the trailers have featured her with long hair, and so I think we're actually going to get a time jump. I think Discovery comes out of their side in the future maybe a year after Burnham, at least a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. I definitely think there's going to be some sort of time jump, and I think that's going to be we're going to see that at the end of episode 2, because we know, again, episode 3 is where they go back to Earth. That's called, because that episode, at least I would assume that's where they go back to Earth, since it's called People of Earth. That would be kind of weird if it wasn't. So I would assume by episode 3 that Burnham and Discovery are reunited again. I don't think they're gonna stretch it out too much. So I think going back and forth would just get a little tiresome to people.
So I'd quite like them to go back to some of like iconic locations. So if because they've talked about the wormhole, if it the stable one, if it is Deep Space Nine, I'd love it if they literally, even if they just flew past it, just to say, oh, that's where Cisco was, or it's now condemned. No one lives there, bar Morn, because he's still at the bar for some extremely bizarre reason. And that's it. Like I'd love to have some sort of backstory of what happens to like the iconics. Like I just thought a minute ago of like Voyager. Right, I know in like the online game it got taken out of the museum, but I would love to see like Voyager crippled in San Francisco or something. Where people can go around looking for stuff. Like the museum that they mentioned. I would love to see that sort of stuff come up, but I know they won't, and they'll dash my dreams. But I think that would be kind of cool.
Well, I mean, we do know that there's other Federation ships out there somewhere. So I mean, this is something that we haven't even touched on. Oh, what was his name? The dude that was on the space station.
Which Cisco?
No, not not that space station.
Oh, right, okay.
The one in this episode. Sahil. Sahil. Yeah. He was the one that we saw in the very beginning of the episode, which I am so jealous of. Like, I'm not jealous of him being alone on that space station so much, although right now with quarantining, whatever. I'm just jealous of him being able to have like all of that stuff that just kind of disintegrates back. He's like, oh, well, I need a bed. Here it comes out of the floor. I need a dining room table so I can eat breakfast. Here it comes out of the floor. There's the laser things that were cleaning his teeth, like just like everything there is like, I want all of this.
Yeah, in kind of like the behind the scenes that they showed in the Ready Room, I guess that's like a form of programmable matter. So that's something that we've always like, theorized in even today's science, but now just to show it even farther ahead in Star Trek's future, it's just more cool new Star Trek tech.
Yeah, because I mean, in I guess realistically, we've already they already had the holograms and the holodecks, and we know that the holodecks combined the hologram technology along with the replicators, because you could get food in the holodecks. You could, like, water obviously was the thing in the holodecks. We've seen snow get thrown out of the holodecks and into the hallways. So doing that kind of stuff it doesn't seem like that big of a leap.
Right.
I was just.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, go on. I was going to say, I generally thought of something really funny, and I think it would kind of keep with like Enterprise. Like, you've got the end of season 5, if they make it, or season 6 or 7, and it's just at the very end, it's like, everyone comes together, they're so happy, and it's just computer and program, and it's just Data going, huh, interesting, and just walks out the door. I'd be like, pull a Riker, please pull a Riker, or Barclay at least.
Barclay, like, I would love to see Barclay again. Like,
I would love to see him in Picard. I think that would be awesome.
I want to see everyone in Picard. Like, I want.
Right.
I've been. This is something that I've bitched about for a while. Like, I don't understand why O'Brien was never brought back for any of the TNG movies. Like, they brought Worf back after he had moved over to Deep Space Nine. So why not O'Brien? And then they kind of joked about him a little bit in one of the early episodes of Lower Decks this season.
Which was hilarious.
The best engineer ever. But like he's like, over the course of Deep Space Nine, I became a huge fan of that character. I would love to see a future version of him.
Absolutely.
He's still acting. Like, he wasn't even in the documentary, the What We Left Behind, the DS9 documentary from a couple of years ago. So it's, I'm curious why he doesn't, like, if he's just like, no, I'm done with Star Trek, period, or if there's a reason that he doesn't do anything with it.
Don't know.
So anyway, back to Sahil. So he's been living on this space station for not more than 40 years. Like his entire life has been spent on the space station, and he was saying that his parents were on the space station waiting for the Federation to come back, and their parents. So like he comes from a long line of people in the Federation. So it seems like this season is going to be Burnham and the Discovery crew putting the Federation back together again.
Or at least what broke it, and finding out what broke it in the first place.
Yeah.
I think that's the mystery. And, whether... Because I don't think they can... you can't rebuild the Federation in a season.
No.
So I think that'll definitely be maybe what Discovery is about going forward. Right now, I think it's about... This whole season's going to be about... Let's try to solve part of the mystery, and let's get the process going if we want to start up the Federation. And what kind of annoyed me about this episode, and I love Sahil as a character, I think that kind of dedication to an idea, it's almost like a religion.
Right. Well, and that's what
for him and his family.
And Book was he was talking about true believers. And people that I'm assuming are just like, no, the Federation's going to come back one day. So that's definitely seems like an accurate assessment of where the universe is right now. Is you've got a bunch of people scattered across the galaxy who are just praying for the Federation to return one day.
Yeah. So I think that. But we've seen Deep Space Nine, one of our favorite Star Trek series. They took that concept of the Federation being flawless and above reproach, and they dirtied up the Federation a bit. Deep Space Nine showed that not even the Federation is perfect. Oh, yeah. All the time.
Well, I mean, we even saw that in TNG and even in Voyager. Like that's one of the ideas that a lot of Star Trek fans have about Star Trek that I've never understood. We like in the TNG movies, we saw that the Federation was not above kicking people off their planet if they wanted the resources that were behind it. Section 31, we knew that existed, obviously in Deep Space Nine, and then in TNG, like Picard was always going up against people who, like within the Federation that weren't doing what he thought was the right thing. So the Federation being like this pinnacle of like perfection is it's a flawed idea of what the Federation is. It's just like any other government.
Right. So yeah, that's why I find his character so interesting. It's because, buddy, you're going to find out the hard way. Like if you access some historical records that, it's a great organization and it's, a great ideal to get behind, but, him treating it as almost like, this reverent, I've been getting up every day the same time for 40 years trying to maintain this. Yeah, that's great, but you're almost putting the Federation on this huge pedestal. And, I really hope the writers remember the nuances that Deep Space Nine had. And, maybe treating any organization with that kind of like religious dedication is not a good thing.
I'm going to lean towards that they're not going to do that. Because I mean, we've seen with Alex Kurtzman was, he was on the JJ movies, which, obviously with Into Darkness, we saw that there was that sinister level of people inside of Starfleet too. So I think it is going to be a lot more nuanced. Picard, we saw with Picard that the Federation isn't wasn't this pinnacle of idealism. So I don't foresee that being a thing. But at the same time, I don't think it's out of the realm a possibility is that the people of the future, don't look at the bad stuff. They're like, no, the Federation was great, and these true believers are going to believe that it was this perfect incarnation of what it should have been.
But I hope that the whole galaxy isn't just like smugglers and assholes, like I'm pretty sure there's like pockets of, people just trying to live their lives and survive.
Yeah. I that has to be out there. Let me go back to the episode listing. I don't really want to spoil myself going forward with like looking at a lot of these.
And I will be clear. I paused that ready room. I think it was only up to episode 6 that we clearly saw the episode titles. And then they did like this really fast. And I'm like, there's no way people have screen capped the rest of them because it like blurred out at some point. So I think up to episode 6 is confirmed. 7 through 13 is speculation. But I did hear that some of those titles were, I guess, someone got it from the writing guild.
Okay.
Like they were put out in the. But we know at least up to episode 6 is what they showed us on screen. So.
Yeah, and it looks like there's not. There's actually, I'm not reading them, but there are synopsis for up through 5. No, 5 doesn't have a synopsis, but 2, 3, and 4 do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's at least out there already. I want to ask you guys a couple of questions about just what we know outside of this too. So we know that there's a Section 31 series that's supposed to be in development that was supposed to be focusing on Georgiou's character, but now Georgiou is in the future on Discovery. Right?
Interesting. Yes.
So
I think she might get her hand on some illegal time travel technology. See, they said it was outlawed, but they didn't say it was
that it had all been destroyed too. That doesn't mean that people don't have time travel technology in general, because also we know that the spore drive can travel through time by traveling along the mycelial network. So yeah. So that was kind of where I was going with that. Do you think Discovery is going to stay in the future for the foreseeable future, or do you think there's going to be some more time travel there?
I think they have to, just because of unless they were able to purge, every bit of the information that Control would be able to use from their systems. Then they may get a safe pass to go back, but they made such a big deal at the end of season 2 that the reason we never hear of Discovery ever again was because they kept it under wraps. So that would make that whole point mute if they don't do that. If they don't stay in the
I just remembered we had that short trek episode that took place 1,000 years in the future, where that dude found the ship after the computer system had become sentient. So,
and I've always remember that because I'm like, how is that ever going to tie in to what we're doing here? Because you can't just have the whole crew abandon the Discovery.
Right. So now,
is that even farther in the future than where they are at?
Yeah. Well, that was 1,000 years in the future. So now we're 930 years in the future. So that future is only 70 years ahead of where we're at now.
Yeah.
So, man. So now, because this is something that I was toying with earlier. Is, do you guys think that they knew going into Discovery that season 3 they were going to be going into the future? Or
I think so.
Yeah, I think they mapped it out.
Yeah. I would imagine they would have had to with that short trek being a thing, because that it seems like there was too much building up to this for it to just be a reaction to fans saying, why are we in the past?
And they're making a conscious effort to give us dates.
Yeah.
Specific years, 930 years in the future, That one was 1,000 years approximately. So they've been so conscious at giving us dates and figure out, I'm going to have to rewatch that short trek now. Because now, with what we know now, that means at some point between, and this is the cool thing, because in that short, Discovery had its own artificial intelligence.
Right.
So that means at some point in season 3 or season 4, the Discovery is going to get some kind of upgrade from the future.
It would have to.
I reckon it's Section 31 that will do it. Thinking about when you guys talking, because I haven't seen the short trek thing, but there's like two things that kind of like popped into my head. One is like something I spoke, I think, when Enterprise was first airing back like years and years ago. My friend and I were saying like it'd be really cool if they did another series set in the future where the Federation got absolutely annihilated by like a new race, and then now watching and listening to, I'm like, that's kind of what we talked about a while ago. But then I kind of think that Section 31 kind of like worked behind the scenes. So like even if the Federation's gone, they would still have like this whole like underground like thing coming along. And I reckon like you could have someone come along and be like, oh hey, yeah, this is just perfect for Discovery. Upgrade it and then give it the consciousness that happened in this short track that you're talking about. Because that would kind of make sense, and they'd be like, oh god, what have we done? Because didn't was it the Borg that was in that guy or something? Because I heard that they were like the beginning of the Borg or whatever. Like it would be interesting if like part of his part like stayed about, where he like I don't know, like had a
Mark, you need to watch the rest of season 2 of Discovery. You can't just skip these episodes. You can't watch like the last 2 and the Borg. It's not the Borg.
Oh no, like, when I looked into this, when it first came along, it was like all these things going, oh, it's nanites, it's all this, it's all that, and I was just like, oh, okay, cool. So that was my kind of thing of like maybe part of his consciousness survived some part, and then he's behind something or other or something like that.
Yeah, well, I do remember at the end of season 2. Well, not even at the end of season 2, but when Control kind of brought itself out, people were like, oh, is this the origin of the Borg? But we know from other places and other sources that the Borg existed way earlier than the 22nd century or whenever that was, because there were references to the Borg being around in Earth's 14th century, so we know that they've been out there for a long time, because there was also like that theory that V'ger was not created, but that the race that V'ger ran into was the Borg race, which I don't necessarily see that being a thing either, just because V'ger wasn't making people like well, I guess V'ger kind of was to an extent bringing people into its network, like they did with what's her name, Ilya and Decker at the end. But yeah, I don't know. Seeing the Borg would be really interesting. So I would, that speaking of like effects and prosthetics that I'd love to see updated, like I would love to see what a 32nd century and a 2020 iteration of the Borg looked like.
Oh, well, we had that one Voyager episode called One. No, Voyager with One. And it was the Doctor's mobile emitter interacting with Seven's nanoprobes, and we saw a 29th century.
I don't
Borg.
Remember that one.
So that would be
I remember that, but I don't remember.
Oh, that was a good one. Mm. Yeah, definitely watch that one, because because Doctor's mobile emitter is from the 29th century. There was a transporter accident, and Seven's nanoprobes got into the Doctor's mobile emitter, and it created like a 29th century Borg. It's a great episode. Seeing
this guy, he kind of looks like Jason from Jason X after he like merged with a spaceship or whatever.
But again, like Star Trek has really referenced the 29th century a bunch, but we're in the 32nd century now. That's 300 years past that time. So yeah, I would love to see what a 32nd century Borg is. I can't. They don't rely on dilithium.
Oh, right, because they were transwarp. Yeah.
Mm.
It kind of makes you wonder if they would take that opportunity, unless the Borg were somehow completely decimated in the past. But wouldn't you think that the Borg would totally take advantage of that situation and just start assimilating the whole galaxy at that point?
So I need to rewatch Picard again, but what was the status of the Borg in the Picard era? Because obviously
we don't know. We only know that it was just one ship,
right, that
was like cut off from the network.
Huh.
And they don't mention the rest of the collective.
Interesting. I'll have to
yeah.
That'll be an interesting thing to play. So overall, is there anything from this episode that we haven't discussed that kind of stood out to you guys, or is going to be something that you're going to be paying attention to going forward?
The cat Grudge. Star Trek cat. Hell yeah, I'm ready for a new Star Trek cat. Perfect.
It's when you find out it's like the last cat ever. No more cats.
And it's a descendant of Spot.
Oh. If they reference it, like those little small Easter eggs, I don't care if the Borg, the Romulans, if they've got big Easter eggs, if it's Spot the cat's descent, like whatever, yes, 100%, I am on board for that. I'm like, I don't care if this series is bad. You give me that theory right there,
and
golden.
It was just so hilarious because in the background of Book's ship is amazing. That set design is incredible. That is super clean. But in the background next to Book's bed, you see Grudge's like little cat bed. And I was just like, yes. He's got his own place on the ship. Woo!
Man, I think the only thing that would have been better is if he had like one of those like cat tower things that kind of like spanned around the ship.
Definitely watch that Ready Room because the actor who plays Book, I keep forgetting his name, but he tells a story when they were filming. At one point, the cat just sinks its claws into his jacket, and he kind of grins and bears it and finishes the scene. But when he looks at his jacket, there's like these claw marks, like he completely shredded one part of the costume.
That's so funny. I love
Star Trek cats.
Yeah. So really quick before we wrap out, I'm just over on fandom again. The information that they have here isn't going to be too in depth since we're all kind of finding out about everything at the same time. But some fun trivia. Sonequa Martin Green is now the only cast member of Discovery to appear in every single episode, which kind of makes sense because she is like the show was built around her specifically. Yeah. Although Doug Jones, Anthony Rapp, and Mary Wiseman are credited in the opening sequence, their characters do not appear in the episode, and this is the first episode of the series that Saru was not in.
He's been in all of them up until now. Yeah.
Continuity. Obviously, this is the first episode to be set in the 32nd century. The background information on the collapse of the Federation is still... We have no further information on that, just that it happened after the burn, an event in which much of the galaxy's dilithium reverns just kind of blew up. Due to the temporal wars, as we talked about earlier, time travel technology has been outlawed and destroyed. Talked about this too. Book mentioned that the Gorn recently destroyed 2 light years of subspace, and there's no additional information on how that happened. And the quantum slipstream drive, which we had seen in Voyager. And this is just a random note. I don't know how accurate this is, but it says by the 32nd century, only a commissioned Starfleet officer could raise the flag of the Federation. That seems like that may have been a rule long before the 32nd century. I can't see Sahil just kind of making that up and being like, no, I didn't put this up because only a commissioned officer could do it. Like, if that rule hadn't existed, I have a feeling he would have put it up himself.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think back to, like, all the episodes of, like, past Star Trek episodes where there's, like, one part where it's like, right, guys, let's put that flag up. Wait, only the commander can do it. Where's that episode? Did Gene Roddenberry put it in? I bet he did in his side note somewhere.
Yeah, like that's. I don't think that's ever been. I enjoy reading like these things just for information like that because I'm like, wait, when was this ever a thing that ever came up anywhere?
Here's a question that I generally kind of thought of in Voyager when they had that one episode where they kept bringing Seven back from time.
Yes.
How far was that set in the future? Because
so that was the time ship relativity. That was from the 29th century.
Okay, because I generally thought that if that was set farther ahead, then that the Federation would come back. But I didn't know how far.
Right.
So now Discovery is at the farthest point in Star Trek's timeline.
In Voyager,
it's beyond everything.
Those were the two episodes that we had Ed Begley Jr. as the Tim Cook, Elon Musk type guy, right?
Yeah, Future's End, and then they brought back Braxton for that relativity episode that Mark mentioned.
Okay.
So Braxton? Which one was Braxton?
Braxton was the so in Future's End he was crazy because he went back to the 1990s, but he came back for that episode.
Oh no! It's the one where retrospect that they're in.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like how far was that? If Discovery's farther than
that's all. The time ship relativity, that's from the 29th century.
Oh, okay.
And that seemed to me like that was the peak of Starfleet and the Federation because they had time ships, they were monitoring the time stream, all that stuff. Then after that, we get Daniels and the Temporal War. And then after that, we get the Burn. So it's like the 29th century was like the height of Starfleet. And then after it all just kind of went downhill.
So, and Book mentioned, he didn't really give an exact date. He just said 120 years previously was when the Burn was. So since we're in the 32nd century, the Burn would have been towards the end of the 30th. Right?
30th or the beginning of the 31st. So again, around Daniel's time. So I think things were pretty desperate. To me, it seems like, they had these temporal wars, they banned it, and then everything just kind of fell apart right after that. I think the Burn happened maybe within 50 years of like the temporal wars and what Enterprise mentioned with the temporal accords.
Well, they're also, I would assume. Well, I can't assume this because Burnham actually made it into the future. But this is why time travel always bugs me. I can't imagine that people from the 28th or 29th century or whatever, before the time travel technology was outlawed, that they weren't like, oh, in the future something devastating happens to the Federation. I'm going to go and I'm going to stop that. So, like,
unless they're not allowed to like write their own future, or maybe going into the future is a little bit more unpredictable because you can have so many different outcomes.
Like I hope that's something that is addressed here, because that seeing someone show up from the 29th century, or like seeing crewman Daniel show up or something, because that actor is still around. So just like seeing some of that stuff, I think would be really, really cool for them to tie back into some of the other time travel things that we know have happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's when the only person to save the entire Star Trek timeline is the Traveler and Wesley. They just randomly just pop up. It's just like, fuck's sake, Wesley, what are you doing here? I'm with the Traveler.
You know what? It was funny. I was watching that Ready Room with Teresa, and Will Wheaton mentions that he's 48 in that interview when he's talking with it, and I'm like, holy! And she was like, he doesn't look like he's 48. I'm like, yeah, he could shave that beard and look much younger. Let's get Wesley back.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see him pop up in Picard.
I would love that.
We know we're getting Whoopi Goldberg. There's been a few announcements for season 2 of Picard, haven't we?
Isn't Gates McFadden coming back as Crusher?
I think so.
I thought I heard that rumor.
Let me see.
I have to look into that.
Let me pull up the wiki page on this. Nothing's on the wiki yet. It just says notable guests are Whoopi Goldberg and Jerry Ryan. Jonathan Frakes, I'm sure, will probably be back as Riker.
Oh yeah.
I don't see any other. And no, that was Prodigy. Sorry, we know that Kate Mulgrew is coming back as Janeway in Prodigy. So maybe she'd be down to come back in live action for Picard 2. I don't know. There's so many possibilities for so many of these actors to come back in just various ways. Robert Picardo as an EMH. I mean, come on.
Yes, because he's timeless. And there was that one episode of Voyager where a copy of his program survived far into the future.
Yes.
That was Living Witness. So his program is essentially immortal. I would love to see him.
Like we obviously saw in Picard that they're down to age up immortal characters and we saw at the final episode of TNG that Data was trying to make himself look older anyway, so there's no reason that the Doctor couldn't be like, I want to make people feel more comfortable, so I'm going to make myself look the same age that all of you would have been.
Yeah.
I would love it if in Picard Q would come back.
Yeah,
I would so love it. I would just be like, Q, I'm down for this.
I loved his little cameo.
Oh, that was great.
Decks.
I would actually love to see Q pop up in
Watch Lower Decks.
I have. Which episode was that one?
I think that was episode 8 or 9.
I think
it was towards the end of the episode. Q, and it's John Delancey back as Q, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to put you through some trials," and they're like, "Go away, Q."
Yeah, it was the trial episode, wasn't it?
I think so.
When they were all telling the stories about why they didn't know what was going on.
That must be one episode I missed then, because I've watched pretty much all of it.
It's episode 8. It's episode 8. Yeah.
I'd like to see Q show up in like Strange New Worlds.
Oh, that would be crazy for like a one-off.
Seeing him go up against Pike, because Anson Mount is just like, you can tell that he's having so much fun in that role, that seeing him be able to do just something like really goofy with Q would be just so much fun.
Yeah, two phenomenal actors go against each other, and in a great story. Yeah, I would love to see the two of them play off of each other.
I don't know how that would work, because you would think that if Q ran into Pike at some point in time, that would be recorded somewhere, so Picard would have known. So like the Federation would have known that there is this being out there. But who knows? It could be another just like super top secret type thing where he just like accidentally falls back in time and then never shows up again,
or snaps his fingers. No one remembers.
Yeah. There's so many ways that they could get out of that. But I think that's going to do it for us for this week Really quick before we go, what would you guys rate this episode?
I'd give it like a 3.5 out of 5 pips. Or warp factors. I don't know. Yeah, like a 3.5 out of 5.
I'll give it 4 warp cores and a bit of dilithium to go with it.
What ridiculous thing can I go? I don't know. I'll go with 4 phasers.
Set to vaporize and Thanos
yes.
everyone.
Yeah, phaser level 4. I enjoyed it. There was a little bit that was uneven about it. I would have liked a little bit more exposition for what was going on and what the state of the universe at this point was. And I wish the next episode was part 2 and not just some random name instead.
Part 2's in like season 8.
I mean, we're getting Unification Part 3 in this season, so who knows?
Maybe, yeah.
Here's a question, right? You guys are like in the thing where you're firing at like Book and Michael and stuff like that. At one point, when your friend hits by phaser, you just be like, "I'm out. I am not dying for this. Beam out straight away," because I'd be gone if it was me. It's like, "Oh look, there's Fred. He's just got vaporized." Yeah, I don't.
How could I even the drug that they smoked Michael with? Like, just that whole bit was so much fun.
I love that scene because she really got to play around with it. But what a cool camera technique where the camera was locked on an access point of her head. Like, that was, I don't think I've seen that before.
Yeah, that was really, man, that was great. Well, and just how it happened, just because, like, she seemed so utterly clueless just in that one moment, because, that little drone thing just kind of like flew out. She's just like staring at it, and she's like right in her face. She's like, I feel like I don't know. Like on the one hand, I was like, okay, there's no way that she didn't see that coming. But on the other hand, I was like, I am so glad that she didn't see that coming.
Oh yeah, this whole thing was unexpected.
Just so good. And then her referencing Tilly on space drugs.
Yep. She's like, don't give a redheaded girl that's my friend this. It was perfect.
So good. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season. I think if this first episode of it is anything to go by, it can only. I mean, it's gonna make it sound like I thought this episode was bad, but it can only go up from here. Like I think we're in store for a really, really solid third season.
What I'm looking forward to the most is Tilly and Grudge. I love that little bit in the trailer. She's like, I'm not really a cat person. What's going on?
Also Saru like going on the attack with his little things. God, there was so much in that little trailer that I am so excited for.
Me too, for sure.
So yeah, again, we're gonna wrap out. You can find us. You can find the Illuminerdi on social media at _Illuminerdi on Twitter, _Illuminerdi on Instagram, or the Illuminerdi's Inner Circle on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter at Vogue on Poetry Slam, which you can see right beneath me right there. That's also where I exist on Instagram when I'm there. Eric Berry, I'll let you guys tell everyone about your stuff too, because you've got a lot of stuff to plug too.
Oh, sure. I do a Power Rangers podcast called Ranger Command Power Hour. You can find all of the links at rangercommand.com where to listen to us for our podcast. I also do a Star Trek podcast with my friend. You can find him at Nova Charter, and the podcast is the Starfleet Escape podcast. So definitely check that out.
Did not know you had a Star Trek podcast. That's awesome.
For like 7, 8 years. Yeah.
I'm just finding this out now. All I know is Strange Command Power Hour. As for me, you can find me on YouTube as Airlim, on Instagram as Airlim, on Twitter as Mainstream Live, because someone took Airlim. How random is that? And they've only posted once, and I'm like, I hate you. But yeah, that's it. I just do Power Rangers stuff as well as anime, and I might start some Star Trek stuff because I freaking love Star Trek.
So good. All this new stuff is so good. And thank you to everyone watching. Donnie Pearson, again, thank you so much for putting the word out there. We appreciate it. Toku Chris, I saw you popped up. I don't know if you're still here. Edward Sanchez, I know you were there in the beginning. Don't know if you're still here now, but thank you all for watching. We appreciate it, and we will see you over the weekend with the Ranger wrap-up on Saturday. Joe and I will be back also on Saturday with the next episode of Star Trek Enterprise on the Riker Maneuver Classic. And then on Sunday at 8 o'clock, we will have the Illuminerdi Wrestling Order talking about whatever the newest stuff in wrestling is. I don't follow wrestling really, so I couldn't tell you what any of that would be. Yeah, if you guys want to send us any fan art, I know Donnie, you do that kind of stuff. You can find it. You can find us on Twitter. Anything specific Star Trek related you want us to talk about, let us know. We're down. Maybe these guys will be with me next week. It might be some new guys. Bryce is catching up on Discovery right now. So we'll see who shows up in for episode 2. And again, we'll see you guys eventually somewhere. I don't know. I'm rambling now.
All right.
I'm just gonna turn this thing off. Bye.
All right. Bye.
See you later.